From the PEP Radio Newsroom, this is the News Blast for this hour. LGBTQ Nation is reporting that as the Democratic Party argues over whether standing up for trans people is bad for their brand, Minnesota Governor and former vice presidential candidate Tim Walz has held strong in his support for the community. During an impassioned speech at the annual California Democratic Convention over the weekend, Walz made his stance perfectly clear. "I'm just going to say it. Shame on any of us who throws a trans child under the bus for thinking they're going to get elected," he said. "That child deserves our support. Don't worry about the pollsters calling it distractions, because we need to be the party of human dignity." Walz expressed similar sentiments in May, telling The Independent that abandoning trans people is a mistake. And here's the thing. We need to tell people your cost of eggs, your health care being denied, your homeowner's insurance, your lack of getting warning on tornadoes coming has nothing to do with someone's gender. Many Democrats and pundits have claimed trans issues contributed to the party's 2024 election night losses. The victories on the anti-trans right have emboldened some Democrats to begin wavering on their support for trans rights, with some, like Representative Tom Suozzi of New York and Seth Moulton of Massachusetts, outright coming out in favor of anti-trans sports bans. I guess the same could be said for Governor Gavin Newsom out in California. The debate among Democrats continues despite the fact that exit polls indicated that inflation and an unpopular incumbent president are what doomed Kamala Harris's 107-day run for president. During campaign season, Republicans invested about $215 million into airing anti-trans TV ads that repeated claims about Democrats wanting boys to play in girls' sports and supporting taxpayer-funded gender-affirming surgeries for inmates. One ad aired repeatedly during football games to reach male voters and suburban women, showed pictures of Harris next to a drag queen, a trans woman, and a non-binary person, and ended with a tagline, "Kamala is for they, them." Democrats largely avoided engaging with this issue. The Democratic National Convention didn't have a transgender speaker and only mentioned trans issues once during a speech by Human Rights Campaign President Kelly Robinson. In one of her first TV interviews, Harris briefly said that the Constitution requires the government to provide medically necessary care, including gender-affirming care, to all inmates. But this strategy of ignoring trans people backfired, allowing the GOP to control the narrative in its claim that the Democrats are obsessed with gender and don't care about anything besides trans rights. In reality, Democrats only spent $9 million to refute the GOP's anti-trans attacks, rebuffing the idea that Democrats lost for embracing trans issues too tightly. Additionally, numerous trans and non-binary candidates won historic races on Election Day, rebuffing the idea that voters are transphobic. As a matter of full disclosure, the treasurer for the Pennsylvania Equality Project is running a campaign for mayor in Downingtown, Pennsylvania. We mention this solely out of a sake of being completely transparent. And by the way, we really hope she wins. She's a great candidate and she'll do a fine job as mayor. But that's commentary, that's not PEP Radio. In his speech in California, Walz also spoke about how the Democrats can fight back against the Republican narratives of what the party is all about. The thing that we know this is, we can do multiple things, he said, referring to those who tell us we should give up on what Republicans have decided are social issues or distraction issues. He emphasized that Democrats can both fight for the middle class as well as for marginalized groups, and that none of this has to be mutually exclusive. So when they try and bully us and say we shouldn't talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, that's what we should be talking about because that's how we grow, he added. We've got a problem right now with image because we've allowed them to control the narrative. We've allowed them to define what things are. We've allowed them to tell us some states are red and some are blue. That is crap. Our policies improve lives. Our policies grow the economy. Our policies make us safer, and our policies live up to our true American values. He also declared losing an election doesn't mean you have the right to retreat from a fight. What it means is you get back in that fight more than ever. That's the News Blast for this hour. If you are watching our videos on YouTube, please subscribe to the PEP Radio channel. If you are 18 or older, live in Pennsylvania, and are part of the LGBTQ plus community, please Take a moment to complete the 2025 housing survey available at paequality.com. Up next is the Meadville area weather forecast here on PEP Radio.